All right, since technically I am the host of you are the special forces, and there's obviously a non-veteran audience for this, and we've talked about all the cool guy stuff. I got to ask a question about bar fights, because when you talk about the reputation and the myth and we're talking about human. We're sitting here with Jim West, so
yeah.
Yes, before we get to Jack's obvious stories of clearing out a bar, I need to hear your stories. At least one of them. A good one. A really good one.
A really good one?
A really good one.
So, remember I told you this guy that paid me $8,000?
Yes. To not kill him.
So one night I walked in, if you know about the old Fayetteville Hay Street, Rick's Lounge,
Rick's,
right?
Yep.
I go, I was friends with the owners and whatnot. So I go walking in there. It was really crowded, payday, Friday night. And I'm trying to walk my way down. They got the runway where the dancers dance in the first part, right?
So this is a strip club?
Yes.
Okay.
Rick's is
a gentleman's club.
A gentleman's club.
So I'm walking, and I'm trying to get through people, and I get this elbow in my back from the bar side. And I thought about that for a second, and I go, well, half a second? That was intentional.
That wasn't like someone accidentally. You know the difference.
I spun around, I threw my thumb in their throat, and I shoved them over the bar. And this long-haired kind of looking guy, he goes, "You got your thumb in my throat." And I said, "It's going to stay in your throat until I figure out who the fuck you are." Excuse my language. Because in Special Forces, just like my Che Guevara picture, you know guys that you don't see for years, they grow long hair, Navy SEALs Day, beards, all that stuff. So I wasn't sure if I
maybe he was one of you guys.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure. So I did that, and then somebody tugged on my shoulder of my shirt. And I turned around, and I got hit in the top of the head with a beer bottle, which didn't break. And then my good buddy Jerry, who's deceased now, is a very powerful guy. I trained with Gary O'Neill for years.
Yeah.
And he shoved me into the bar because he knows I like to fight. And he pinned my arms to my side. One guy behind me, Jerry holding me down, the guy with the beer bottle. Here comes the beer bottle again, so I tuck my head and let the beer bottle break on my
thick
bone.
The thick bone, yeah.
And I could see the beer I could see the label holding onto the glass, and it cut part of my nose off, my cheek, 26 stitches here. Then he hits me again. I tried to shrug him off, so I stuck my foot behind the heel, boom, and everybody fell down. I'm like, isn't that great? So Jerry rolled on top of the one guy that hit me, and I went to stomping on him because Jerry realized he screwed up. Right, nice word. And the other guy, I guess, disappeared. All of a sudden, I'm cranking on these guys' head with cowboy boots on, and somebody says, "Stop, stop, stop." And I looked up, and it looked like Serpico, some long-haired guy with a maxi
That's
coat
an Al
on.
Pacino movie from like the 70s.
Yeah, and he had this, and he had a radio in his hand. He says, "You outside?" And I told the cat, I said, "Hey, if you got a badge to go to that radio, then I go outside." And I got blood squirting all out of my face by now. It was 51 stitches that night, right? So he shows me a gold seal, and might as well shield. So I went to turn around, and there's all these people, bar fight. I had to gather all up. And I said, "I got this." And I started shaking my head, blood's flying everywhere, and I go, "I got AIDS, and I'm fucking bleeding." And so it looked like Moses parting the Red Sea. Even the cop was 20 feet away. I'm like, "Dude, I'm just joking. Come on." So we walked out of the door, and as my right foot crossed the threshold, the original guy that got off the hook, he was standing there, and I hear there's the asshole talking about me. So I planted my foot, I did a 180, and I launched him under his chin. Feet came off the ground, looked like the predator ripped his spine out and it collapses. And, I got stitched up, whatever. 5 years later, I'm in another gentleman's club a friend of mine owns. And I looked up and I seen the same guy that started that whole thing.
Oh, come on.
And I'm thinking, I got to finish what was started 5 years ago.
Wow.
So I got Tony, he's the owner of the bar, Italian, believe it, right? And I said, "Tell your bouncers I need about 5 seconds, then they can jump on me. 'Cause I got to take care of business." So I waited. He was sitting with these two other fellows, and one of them went to the bathroom. So I followed the other guy in the bathroom. I said, shoved him on the wall. I said, look, I don't want to fight with you, but that guy at the table with you, I owe him something. See these scars on me? He couldn't have done anything. I said, why not? He's in a wheelchair. I said, what? Well, long story made a little bit shorter. The night I hit him, I cracked him so hard because the adrenaline, the excitement for the moment, it dislocated his brainstem, and he became permanently wheelchair bound. That's a fight story, right?
Jack?
And I'm sitting next to you.
Because I see you talking. I don't see anybody ever wanting to start a fight with you. I don't. You don't have that.
No, I have that kind of face.
Jack fights with me at least once a week.
So I don't have anything that compared to Jim West, for God's sake. But
you haven't separated the brainstem?
No, nothing even close. I'll tell you one story.
I've done worse than that.
Me and my junior, I was the senior 18 Bravo, and my junior 18 Bravo were out doing some training. Never mind where this was in the United States. And as we were walking out of a bar, one guy attacked my friend, my junior, and my buddy pushed him up against the glass storefront, and was jacking him up. So the second guy came up and was attacking my friend. So now I'm the fourth guy. I come in and I get that other guy, that second guy, in a rear naked choke. And this is where I learned the limitations of Army combatives, the jiu-jitsu based stuff that we're taught in the Army, that Jim has kind of helped me fill in the gaps. Because I got behind that guy, I choked him out, he bucked back, and we both went backwards. And I landed my back on the sidewalk, this guy's on top of me, and I choked him out. He was done, he passed out. But now the third guy's coming. And the third guy comes up to me, and he's like, let him go, and he comes in to hit me in the face. And I'm still choking this dude out laying down on the sidewalk, and I just tuck in like that.
That's good.
So he comes in and he hits me like right there.
Wow.
And I never saw that guy again. I think he broke his hand from punching the top of my head. And I pushed that guy off me, got up, and I got my buddy. We got the hell out of there. There's a whole crowd around us. And the thing was, nobody knew it. I had it inside the waist belt 1911 on me at that time. Like one in the chamber, like ready to rock and roll. So...
Yeah.
Were you carrying that legally?
It's good he didn't use that.
So
be careful who you mess with.
You know, most of the fights, anyone who knows me that's been in a fight with me, I've had anywhere from 2 to 9 weapons on me every time I'm in a street fight. And I've never deployed one.
Never used them? Yeah.
All right, Terry.
So
I don't have that's good stories like that. I think about the Army thing, though, with the combatives. I think there was a move back... Maybe it was in the early 90s, 90s, early this past one, is that they went too heavy into the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is great.
Yeah, it's good.
Good conditioning, good stuff. But that's also, while you're choking a guy out or getting an arm bar, his friends are putting the boots to your head. And so I think there's a good move and transition from that. There's sparring and rolling and grappling, and then there's fighting. And fighting is different. Fighting is for your life. I haven't really had to use... all the times I worked at a door in the city, I've had guys threaten me. I've had guys say, I don't have an ego, so it's easy to talk them down. There was one guy, actually, at this bar I worked at. He was really being difficult. He was French, actually, so he had this coming. And he was doing stuff inside to the waitresses. So I came in and said, hey, brother, let's go outside. He was, fuck you, whatever. So I got him outside, and he kept threatening and threatening. It was just really easy because he was kind of drunk, and I realized there's a certain point, you all know this, there's a certain point where you know that, okay, I can't talk this guy down. It's going to go. So now I'm going to take control of this.
Fire in the hole.
It's going. And very rarely does it get to that point unless you provoke it. But this one I was completely not, and he was coming. So all I did was I said, as he was coming up to me, I said, hey, man, your head's unprotected. But I put your hands up. So it says he's walking towards me. He puts his hands up. And I just
caught him in the gut.
I front kicked him so hard I lifted him off the ground. He landed in the gutter, almost hit his head on a bumper. Like, it was really bad. And
or really good.
Yeah, but it was one of those things. It's just, again, in the street stuff, I think it's always simple. Simple stuff.
So Gary O'Neill and I have gotten a little bar.
Who I know.
Not against each other, but he pulled a guy's eye out of his head, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah, but he put it back in afterwards.
Hardcore.
He put it back in afterwards. It's okay.
Yeah.
Definitely the first kid on his block.
It's fine.
Well, on a serious level, is this important for Special Forces soldiers to learn for the field?
Yes, it is. it was when I went through the Q course, there was no combatives whatsoever. Now I'd done martial arts, and guys like us were into it, so we train off on different. Listen, whether you're dropping a bomb from 30,000 feet or shooting, or you're going into a village and you're clearing a room, you're this close to people. So to think that they're not going to grab your gun or to jump on you or something like that, you're making a big mistake. And it also, again, good combatives. There's a lot of guys I found even in special forces. I went to ANOC. They were running their combatives. There were guys who had never been punched in the face.
Yeah, that's scary. Most cops are killed with their own weapon when they run around a corner clearing a room, and they kind of have that moment where they lose sight of what's happening. Yeah. So what we do is we train to eliminate that hesitation. We don't think about the laws and legal repercussions. We just train to fire back. I mean, one of the worst fights I got into was in December 28th in 1983. It was Green Bay Sport Parachute Club. Me, Moses Flores, you can look him up. He was my father-in-law at the time, and he spent years and years and years in Special Forces, Vietnam. He got out. He spent another 20, 30 years in the CIA. Great guy. He's retired. He's still alive today, and you'll get a chance to talk to him. We're sitting around, me and some future Delta guys and their wives, and we're drinking, and one of the wives gets up and goes to the bar, and this guy's kind of like talking to her, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, it appears that he's hitting her. So a guy that was on E7, E8 list, E7, getting ready to go into Delta Force, already been accepted. It was his wife. I won't say his name, but I will. He went up to check the guy. He goes up there and he gets in discussion. And the guy flips out a 8-inch blade and sticks him in the hip, hits the main artery, sticks him in the gut, hits the artery through and through stomach wound.
Damn.
And everybody, all these badasses backed away. I jumped up, and Moses has a great story. He jumps up with me, and I didn't know what I was doing, but the brown leather jacket, I got across the room back then. Without a thought, I picked it off my chair. I walked over, I grabbed the guy by the shoulder, he turned around with a knife, and I just threw the jacket right on top of his head.
Brilliant.
Both hands go up, and I broke his ankle, and I took him down. We got the knife away. It got pretty protracted because he was on PCP and some other drugs. I'll leave it at that, but it was a...
You're telling me the story of how he pulled out the second knife and
was doing he eventually went through four knives.
What the hell? Who was this guy? Was he an Army guy?
Yeah, he is. I know his name too. But he went outside and went to the grass, and it was in December, so it was a little light dew. And I stomped on him, crushed him. He was hooked up to a kidney machine for a while. I flipped him over face down. I was kicking him and seeing how far I could slide him across the ice and the dew.
But the difference with now, though, is like in those now, I think the problem with that kind of stuff is we will lose. The military's changed. And those days, you could get if someone pulled a knife out and stomped them, we'd lose our career for doing that.
So hold on. I went to jail for a couple of weeks while the investigation went on. I was in 7th group at the time. And I wouldn't have been in jail at all if this guy on the E8 list had said anything to defend the situation.
Why wouldn't he?
Because any alcohol-related incident,
he's not going to camp.
Right. So he waited until he got promoted before I was allowed out of prison, jail, not prison. So he has a scar from here to here. When that fight was over, I saw the cops coming, so I ran back inside. This one Navy medic and another guy had him sitting in a chair. And I was trying to run from the cops. So I kicked the chair out, pulled him over backwards. I said, treat him for shock, I'm out of here. And I went out the back door. They had to come home and get me. But that same guy today has a scar from here and here in this incident, right? And so I went to jail. I got out because of this situation. When I got out, I went back to work, and they said, you can't deploy, and I shared this with you, until we cleared. So I was sitting on... You'll love this. So I'm sitting around officer of the day in the battalion headquarters at night, all aggravated, because all we want to do is deploy and deploy and deploy. Yep. Well, I'm sitting there at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and somebody knocks on the door, and I open the door. Sergeant Major Commander still hanging out, the B team guys, right? C team guys. And these suits come in. They go back there, and I'm sitting there, and I get to thinking, use that Special Forces mindset. So I real quickly typed up my resume. And I go back after about 45 minutes. So I knocked on the door. And I said, I'd like to give you all my resume. Get the F out of here. Get out. So I went back. I'm like, man, I'm in the worst place in my life. So they come out. Sergeant Major, I'm going to talk to you later, all that stuff. They all left. About 30 minutes, an hour later, somebody's knocking on the door again. It was the agency guys from CIA guys. They came back. They said, we'd like to take you up to Tyson's Corner, have an interview with you. We've got this really highly specialized mission, which I won't talk about now. I said, okay. So, and the guy walks and leaves. He comes back. He goes, do us a favor when you get up to Tyson's Corner. I said, what's that? He says, don't bullshit them like you just did us. I said, you're on. End of the day, I ended up on one of the most, on a paramilitary agency mission that was pretty high tech,
That's cool.
So it's neat how.
So sometimes bad behavior leads to good things.
So bar fights can lead to good things.
Perfect.
That is definitely a
note that.
That is definitely for the kids watching.
Especially
If
for
bar
West.
fights can lead to good things.
Don't